Hello, everyone, and welcome to Someone Should Have Told Me. Someone should have told me a long time ago that there is no courage without fear. We all have fear, but we overcome it and it becomes courage and courageous because we overcame the fear. I found a poem that I would like to read to you. This poem was written by Michael H. Popkin, and it is a poem about when courage first met fear. And it goes like this. Courage first met fear when I was still a child. Courage glazed with cool, clear eyes. Fear was something wild. Courage urged, let's go ahead. Fear said, let's turn back. Courage spoke of what we had, and fear of what we lacked. Courage took me by the hand and warmed my frozen bones. Yet fear the while tugged at my legs and whispered, we're alone. Many have been the obstacles since first I had to choose. And sometimes when courage led me on, I've come up with some bruises. And many have been the challenges since fear and courage met. And yet, those times I followed fear too often tagged along regret. Now, that is pretty much sums it all up because courage does not mean that you won't get bruises. Courage does not mean that you're not fearful. Courage just means that you are putting your fears aside and going to keep on pushing through. Mark Twain said, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. And I found that from Mark Twain. Now, fear is always in us about every little thing. We are fearful of the unknown. We are fearful of what people say and what people think. We are fearful of new things. We have fear for our children going out in the world, which Lord knows we need to be fearful of that. But we have to have courage that we know, especially if you choose to pray or you choose to have faith, then you just do those things. And then it will help take that fear away of fear for your children. Because life cannot be lived fully if you are going to be fearful and not try to push it to the side to do the things that we have to do. And I know I've done a couple of podcasts on what fear can do for you. But now I want you to push it aside and bring up courage because courage is what helps us to live. Courage is what helps us to live a full life, not afraid of everything. Most of the time, when it's all said and done and you've made yourself have courage to overcome whatever it is you were fearful of, then you'd be like, I can't believe I was so afraid of that. Oh my goodness, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And so you have to keep that in the back of your mind about all this fear. And I remember from the time I was a child that you would always be afraid when it was time to go to a new grade. You would be excited and happy, but you would be afraid. And I'm sure that because it's the unknown, You are afraid of who your teacher is going to be, what she's going to be like, what challenges that you're going to have to conquer and overcome. And so that is a healthy type of fear. And it is okay if you keep on moving forward and you step out the house and you keep on going even though you are afraid. And that is courage. That is courage because you didn't let fear hold you back. Now, this poem that I have that is by Mary Ann Radmacher. She speaks of courage. And she says, courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the little voice at the end of the day that says, I will try again tomorrow. Because it takes courage after failure to keep on going. To say, if at first you don't succeed, I will try again. And that has happened to so many people, even in their careers. When you have to take a test for a license, sometimes you fail. Sometimes you take it again and you fail again. But you don't stop there. Don't let the fear get to you. I've known people that have taken tests for their career 5, 6 times. I'm sure somebody's out there that has taken it more than that. But after they push their fear aside and do what's necessary and get the courage to do what they have to do, then the reward is becoming who you want to become. Do not let fear hold you back, because I've said it many times. Short of death, we are going to be okay. So, live the life you want to live, push that fear aside, and do what you got to do, and have the courage to stand and do what's necessary so that you can be who you want to be. Things happen, and you may say, oh my goodness, I'm not ready for this. But guess what? Sometimes, ready or not, here it comes, and you have to have courage to deal with it. You have to push it aside. No one believes me when I say, before I had kids, I used to be quiet and mousy. Oh, just smiling all the time, and did not want to tell people when they were doing wrong, and I just accepted it. I was mild-mannered for sure. Not that I'm like not mild-mannered now, but I was very mild-mannered where I wouldn't even say anything that might be upsetting, even if you did something to me. Boy, once I had my first child, I was holding that baby and I was looking down like, oh my goodness, I am responsible for another life. I am responsible for this child. I have to protect this child. I have to make sure that this child gets everything that it needs. And at that moment, I changed. I changed to be a stronger person because I had someone else that I had to look out for. And my husband always says that sometimes you need something that you love more than yourself to straighten you out. Because if you won't do it for yourself, you will do it for your children. And hopefully that's true for most of us, because these children are born to us and they're so vulnerable, and we have to get the courage to raise them to be who they need to be. We have to have the courage to say no when it's necessary to say no. And Lord knows we love these children so much that we just want to give them the world. But that's not the best for them. We have to teach them and train them to be good people. We have to train the boys to be men. We have to train the girls to be ladies. And that is what my mother did for the girls. We were made to be ladies. I wanted to be a tomboy all the time when I was younger, but my mother had the courage to let me be who I wanted to be, as she showed me how to be the way I was supposed to be as a lady. And I love it. I love being a lady. I love the sweetness of, I know this isn't true, but you know how we used to say, girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice. That's how I felt. Like I was just made of all the sweetest little things. And of course, boys, what was it? Boys are made of snakes and snails and puppy dog tails. I don't know. But it just meant that they were a little bit rougher. And so we have to have the courage to teach our children to be who they need to be. I also have one last poem or quote, Maya Angelou. And she said, having courage does not mean that we are unafraid. Having courage and showing courage meant we face our fears. We are able to say, I have fallen, but I will get up. And I thought that that was a wonderful way to say it, because you get rid of the fear and you have courage to do what you need to do. And sometimes we still may make a mistake and we might fall, which is what we were afraid of in the first place. But you get back up again and you try and try again and you keep moving forward. If you stop and let fear hold you back, then you are going to be in that same position until you get courage again to step out there again. You are holding yourself back with the fear instead of letting courage take you through. And courage is not perfect. And so therefore, you might get some bruises, as the first poem stated. Sometimes I get bruises when I walk with courage. But fear it might keep you unscratched, but you'll never go anywhere. You'll never do anything because you're going to stay back there with old Fraidy Cat. What does a Fraidy Cat look like? Shaking in the corner, never doing anything, never going anywhere, never living life. Living life is very courageous. How much you want to live? Like, I want to go skydiving. And people say, oh my goodness, that's a lot. I don't think I want to jump out of a plane, but hey, I want to feel that rush. And I'm a little afraid, just a little, but I'm going to push past that because I want to feel that great freedom up in the air. When I jump out of the plane, and Lord knows, maybe I'll film it for you guys because I just want to do it. I don't know if I'm going to make it this year. Talked about it. Maybe I should just say, I'm going to do it because it's a little bit of fear holding me back, but I feel like I need to hurry up and do it because I'm not getting any younger, and it's probably better the younger you are, as far as an adult young. Of course, not young children, but of course, it would probably be better for me to do it now than to wait until I'm older. So I'm going to push past the fear and I'm going to have courage and I'm going to go skydiving. Nowadays, everyone is so fearful that everybody is getting these permits for guns. CCW. I do not want to carry a gun around. I do not want to be in the position where if something happened, even if somebody was robbing me, do I really want to shoot them over some money? Do I really want to end someone's life because they are doing something that I don't like? Lately, I've been coming up off the freeway and people are not yielding when they're on the service drive. I'm coming off the freeway, they're on the service drive, they don't yield. I'm trying to get off the freeway and get over to the far right lane so that I can turn at the light when I come up off the freeway. But more than once, these people are just zooming on through the service drive, not yielding, and causing near accidents or causing the people that are coming off the freeway not to be able to get over. What is going on with that? I don't understand. Maybe people should be going to driver's training now because I guess a lot of people don't go through driver's training and get to be 18 and then they can go and take the driver's test and get their license. Well, that is terrible because I am an awesome driver because I took driver's training in high school. I am an excellent driver because of that. And I used to be upset because before we went out to drive, we spent months inside the classroom learning the rules and the regulations of the road. And then when we got out into the driving area to practice, we had to drive hours and hours before we got out there on the street. I remember one class period, we had to drive backwards the whole class period. Driving backwards. You know, I was fearful. I hadn't driven a car that much. Before that, I just was in the classroom taking, notes and learning the rules of the road. But now we're out here and we're driving and I got to drive backwards for a whole class period. Oh my goodness. I was so afraid. I was so afraid, but I wanted to drive. And so I had to push that fear aside and I had to come up with some courage. And I got in that car and I drove backwards. And of course, I didn't run into anything because, of course, it's driver's training and you can't really run into anything except for maybe a pylon. But I did it and I had to keep correcting myself. And I was fearful, but I did it. And now I can drive backwards so good. I could drive backwards for a whole block if I had to. And I live on the corner. And so sometimes, when I move the car from the front of the house to the back of the house, because I live on the corner, my driveway is on the side. So I might have to back my car up all the way and then back it up in the driveway. I'm so good at it. But it's because I pushed that fear aside and I made the courage come forward. And I went with the courage and now I'm an awesome driver. I know that some people, like we were trying to teach my nephew how to drive a stick. And of course, this is not nothing major because driving a manual transmission, they don't even want to make them hardly anymore. But we all were learning how to drive the manual transmission. And I don't know if it was because his mother was teaching him or whatever. I wasn't even in the car. But he ended up driving is good enough to pull back up in the driveway, and he get out the car and he's like, forget it. I don't want to learn. I don't care to learn. I want an automatic. He never learned how to drive a manual transmission, but I mean, it's not killing his life. He's still driving a car. And my sister is so funny because we both had manual transmissions just because we liked them. And she says, I don't even know how people drive automatics because they're not doing nothing. It's a wonder they don't all fall asleep at the wheel, which that's hilarious. But now we both just got new cars and there was not a manual transmission available, and we got automatic transmission, of course. And she was talking the other day and saying, oh my goodness, it was so boring driving home. I didn't have to switch gears or anything, but she's just hilarious. And that's just a funny story. You really don't have to push through to get courage to drive a manual transmission. Like I said, they're not even making them hardly anymore. But it's just an example of if you want to do something, so what? You're fearful. I'm sure probably with another teacher, my nephew probably would have learned how to drive a stick shift manual transmission, but he didn't even care to. He was like, that's not something I want to do. And that's fine. That is fine because it's not a necessity. But just letting you guys know that no matter what it is, no matter what you want to do, you got to push the fear aside and just do it. And sometimes our kids show us that there's no fear in them and they push through and it's like, oh my goodness, my son or my daughter did that. Oh my goodness, I would have been afraid. But they went on. Sometimes our children show us that they can have courage about things that we are fearful about. It's just we have to push through that courage because that is what's going to make us have the most fulfillment in life and the most enjoyment, even though fear is a part of life. But you push it through and make courage your way of life. And some things you don't have to do. But if you want to move forward in life, then you will push that fear and grab onto that courage and live life to the fullest. It will make you more fulfilled and happier once you learn that courage is the only way to conquer fear. And courageousness is the only way to get through fear, to get away from fear. We all deal with it. And now that it's June and everyone is moving to the next level in school and in life, it is amazing that you made it this far because I'm sure you were afraid at first grade, second grade, third grade, and oh my goodness, then when you graduated from grade school and getting ready to go to middle school, oh my goodness, you're excited, but you're like, I am so afraid of what's going to happen the first day. Who's going to be my friend? Will I have friends? Oh my goodness. You made it and you will make it through. And those who have graduated from middle school and going to high school, oh my goodness. Enjoy these 4 years because they're going to go so fast. And I want you guys to learn as much as you can, have as much fun as you can, get as many friends as you can, and make as many memories as you can. Do the best you can. Have the courage to tell your friends that you're going to do what you need to do because it's going to be better for you in your lifetime. And you have the courage to tell them that they need to do the same. You have the courage to move on from high school to college. Oh my goodness, the children that are graduating high school and going to college. Oh my goodness, when I graduated high school, I cried. The whole graduation day, I cried. Everybody was like, oh my God, what is wrong? I'm like, I am so afraid. I am so afraid of what's to come. What am I getting ready to do? School is over. I can't believe now that I look back that I cried all through graduation, the whole day, just crying because I was so afraid. Now look at me now. I done been graduated and moved on and have done so many things in my life that when I look back at that day, all that darn crying, looking so ugly because I'm crying, that was such a waste. Because no matter what, you keep getting up every morning and you keep getting out that bed and putting one foot in front of the other, then you cannot imagine the things that you can do if you push that fear aside and grab a hold to courage. Then your life will be wonderful, awesome. Not saying you won't get a bruise here, there. Not saying that you might have to get up again after falling. Not saying none of those things. I'm just saying, live, have courage to live and live a full and wonderful and exciting life. That is what we are here to do. And that is the only way that we will get the most out of life, is to grab hold of courage and push that fear aside, because fear is such a scaredy cat. Always don't want you to do something. Don't want you to go somewhere. Holding you back. When if you break those chains of fear, it's going to come back. It's going to come back the next time you want to do something. But each time you have to just shake fear off. Shake them off and grab courage and live your dream. Not saying it won't be fearful, but I am saying it can be great. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for always being there. I love you all. I love you all so much. And you can listen to me at Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Listen Now, Pandora, YouTube. You can also email me at sshtmpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you're thinking. And I will talk to you guys soon. I love you so much. And I wish you the best until I talk to you again. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.